Chapter 196, Give Birth to a Nest of Little Snakes. 3. Wait, Master, I'm innocent. When you were not around this month, we only slept next to each other, nothing else had happened. Yup, they only laid on the grass and took an afternoon nap. Besides, the snake was only half asleep because of fear. The snake was not sleeping at all, but all it wished was to send away the god of pestilence. As the snake finished speaking, the surroundings got more chilly, as if the whole southern bamboo forest was suddenly ravaged by a severe winter. Qing Zhu almost cried and said, "Master, please, believe me. I'm not the adulterer. We're innocent." Nan Xian waved his sleeve and swept his palm in the air. The little azure snake that was still complaining and crying was thrown into the sky until it disappeared. Where's my little snake? It hasn't given birth to the little snakes for me yet. Where has it gone? The young girl stopped moving. Her eyes were filled with confusion. She was stuck, not knowing where to go. Behind her, a soft voice echoed with the wind. "I have never raised a snake in my home. I believe you have seen the wrong thing just now." Feng Ruqing turned around in shock. She looked at the man behind her blankly. Her vision was blurry as she could not clearly see the man's face. She could only see the snowy white shirt, which was clean and divine. "You're drunk." The guy was already next to Feng Ruqing. His hand caressed her head gently as he frowned a little. He felt quite helpless. He knew that Feng Ruqing should not drink. A cup of wine could make her go wild. He just could not even begin to imagine that she would flirt with a snake when she was drunk. "I'll take you home to rest." Nan Xian raised his hands as he wished to hold her up again. But this time, Feng Ruqing did not do as he wished. She pushed away Nan Xian's hand. Then she slapped Nan Xian's handsome face. "Man, go away. Don't try to take advantage of her when she is drunk." Nan Xian's face suddenly darkened. He grasped Feng Ruqing's hand tightly. There was a mark of 5 fingers on his face. "Qinger, stop that. Go away, I need to find Little Snake to help me give birth to snake babies." Where's Little Snake? Why is the snake still not back yet? It is a male snake. You are lying. It is clear that it's Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing is a female snake. Go away, I want to find Xiao. As soon as she turned and tried to leave, she accidentally tripped over a stone. Her whole body was thrown aside. She grabbed at the air, panicked, and she got I found Little Snake, but this little snake, why is it shorter than the previous snake? Why has this little snake grown bigger? Nan Xian had reached out and caught the young girl who nearly fell. Only that, the young girl firmly grabbed the little snake that she thought was really a snake. She was reluctant to let her hands go, which really made Nan Xian's face turn dark. "Little snake, I have got you this time. Don't you think of running away from me again. You belong to me in the future. You're mine, and you will always be mine. You have to give birth to a nest of little snakes for me. If you dare to run away, I'll chop you into 2 pieces." She pinched it twice as a way to show her determination. Nan Xian could not keep his indifferent expression. He inhaled a breath of cold air. "Qinger, keep your hands off." "No." If she let go, it would sneak away. "Listen, let go. It won't run away from you. Be good and let go of your hands." Nan Xian frowned as he could not control himself but sound helpless. Chapter 197, Give Birth to a Nest of Little Snakes. For it seemed that it would be better not to let this girl drink. Feng Ruqing still did not let go. She really thought it was a little snake and continued to play with it. Something cold flashed in Nan Xian's eyes. He placed his fingertip on the young lady's neck. a glow of spiritual chi flowed into her body, and soon, the young girl's body turned soft and fell into his arms. The hand that firmly grasped onto the little snake gradually loosened. By the time Feng Ruqing woke up from the slumber, it was already sunset. She felt a burst of pain on her temples. She rubbed them with her hands to help the throbbing. As soon as she recalled being very drunk in front of the state preceptor, her face darkened as wished she could find a hole and hide inside it. "Are you awake?" A cold voice came from next to her. Feng Ruqing blinked and turned around. The familiar white shirt, face, and smell, also, the distinct 5-finger red mark on his face. Nan Xian pursed his lips gently and threw a confused look at Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruqing quivered as she saw that look. She asked, her voice trembling, "State Preceptor. After I was drunk. Did I do anything?" "Your face," she had hit him. Nan Xian was just like a fairy with a cool aura as he walked. The premise was to ignore the bloody fingerprint on his face. "You don't remember any of it." Nan Xian looked at her helplessly. "You slapped me after you were drunk yesterday." Feng Ruqing's eyes widened. This. She did it. How could she not remember it? She stretched out her finger gently and caressed the marks on the man's face. She felt guilty as she asked painfully, "State Preceptor, what else did I do?" Nan Xian looked at her coldly. "You hugged me. Anything else?" "Kissed me, and then gave me a slap." For the first time, Feng Ruqing felt she was just like a beast. She had molested the state preceptor when she was drunk. The state preceptor did not blame her, yet she had given him a slap. Feng Ruqing suddenly felt like crying as she felt guilty and regretful. Her face was filled with mixed emotions. Well, why did she drink a full cup of wine? Why? You even said, Nan Xian's eyes flashed imperceptibly and continued, "I only belong to you in the future. If I dare to run away, you will." As he said this, he did not forget to glance between his legs. "Chop it in two." Feng Ruqing followed the direction of his eyes, and she saw that thing he mentioned. At that moment, Feng Ruqing felt like there was thunder rolling in the sky as her body turned stiff. It was true that she did mention that she wanted to sleep with the state preceptor, however. The state preceptor was such a cool fairy-like man, and he should be clear from filthy words. That was the reason why she just wanted to sleep him, but not to tease him with nasty words. Therefore, when she learned what she said after being drunk, Feng Ruqing went blank as if she stood in the gale, and could not come to her senses for a while. Alcohol, that was a harmful thing, she knew it well. "So, state preceptor, where am I now?" Feng Ruqing shifted the topic quickly and asked. Nan Xian gently pursed his lips. "In my bed." "Bed? On the state preceptor's bed?" Feng Ruqing was stunned. She did not drag the state preceptor into his bed, and then, did she? Chapter 198, Marry the State Preceptor. Feng Ruqing had lost control after getting drunk and had slept with the state preceptor who had always been ascetic. Thinking of this, Feng Ruqing's body stiffened. What should I do now? What if Nan Xian got angry and disallowed Feng Ruqing to step into the southern bamboo grove again? How could she ever sleep with Nan Xian again? State Preceptor, don't worry. I won't hold you responsible, and I won't take any responsibility for this. Let's forget about this and move on as if nothing has happened. Feng Ruqing raised her head and stared intently at Nan Xian as if she had made an important decision. Nan Xian fell silent with an expression of utter nonchalance. Seeing this, Feng Ruqing felt more anxious. Have I really forced myself on him and he is now thinking of how he can penalize me? If I run away, can I escape from him? What do you think happened between us? Nan Xian lowered his gaze to look at the lady who was lying on the bed. Naturally, it is, Feng Ruching bit back the words. You are saying that nothing has happened between us. Dumbstruck with a strange surprise, Feng Ruching asked. Nan Xian nodded slightly. Feng Ruching heaved a sigh of relief, but at the same time, her eyes filled with disappointment. As Feng Ruching lowered her head, Nan Xian could only hear her sigh but did not see the disappointment in her eyes. Your Highness, it is true that nothing has happened between us. However, you have slid your hands all over my body. What is the feeling of touching my body? Nan Xian closed his eyes tightly, the corner of his lips curved into a faint smile. The feeling of touching your body. Feng Ruching was dumbfounded again. She followed Nan Xian's eyes and finally her eyes landed between his thighs. Boom! Feng Ruching's mind exploded like a bursting balloon. Although she had always let her hands wander all over Nan Xian's body, she had never crossed the line. Now that she had actually touched his private part. How do you feel? Nan Xian took a few steps closer to Feng Ruching as he asked with a faint smile on his face. His words were flirtatious, but his face was indifferent as if asking an ordinary question. I was drunk, and I couldn't feel anything. Can I touch it again? Feng Ruching raised her head dazedly, the words slipped out before she could stop herself. Boom! As soon as Feng Ruching finished her sentence, a loud bang sounded and shook the wooden house. Stunned, Feng Ruching turned her head only to see a snake covered in dust crawling in from outside the wooden house. The snake lifted its tongue with huge effort, its eyes were flooded with tears. Moss. Master, I'm back, the snake whimpered. Hey, little snake, where did you go? What had happened to you? Seeing the azure snake, Feng Ruching jumped out of the bed joyfully. Hearing the familiar voice, poor Qing Zhu turned its head only to see Feng Ruching. In a flash, the snake spluttered with rage. Don't you dare to ask me. It's all because of, suddenly, there was a sudden flash of light, a cold gaze pierced the snake. I'm all right. I went, sightseeing. Stunned, the snake bit back its words and forced a smile. You went sightseeing. Why do you look so miserable? Tell me who has bullied you. I will avenge you. Feng Ruching's eyes narrowed. Chapter 199, Marry the State Preceptor. Qing Zhu swallowed hard. It wanted to tell Feng Ruching that its own master was the one who bullied it. However, Qing Zhu bit back the words after seeing Nan Xian's penetrating gaze. No one has bullied me. I took a trip to the sky. I just came back from the sky. A trip to the sky. A snake can actually fly. Feng Ruching was sizing up Qing Zhu in disbelief. She could feel that this little snake was hiding something from her. Ah! I told my master that I want to take a trip to the sky like a bird. Hence, my master lent me a helping hand. Qing Zhu glimpsed at Nan Xian fearfully and then fixed its eyes at Feng Ruching. Are you sure? If I find out that you are hiding something from me, I will tear you into pieces and make snake soup out of you to nourish the state preceptor's body. Feng Ruching walked toward Qing Zhu with a bright smile. I don't like snakeskin. Nan Xian looked immensely relieved. All right, I will peel off the skin before making the soup. I am sure it would be a mouth-watering delicacy. The princess wanted to please Nan Xian with Qing Zhu's flesh, and Nan Xian had actually accepted it carefreely. Who did this little snake mess with? Why must it suffer such great pain at such a tender age? Hearing this, Qing Zhu widened its eyes. Both of you are working together to bully me. Bursting into tears, Qing Zhu turned to rush out the door. Qing Zhu wanted to leave its master and never come back again. Watching Qing Zhu leaving, Feng Ruching turned to look at Nan Xian as she blinked. Did I wrong Qing Zhu? Perhaps what it said was true, otherwise, the little snake would not be so resentful. Thinking of this, Feng Ruqing felt guilty about her reaction. However, the feeling vanished as soon as Nan Xian walked toward her. Currently, there was only Nan Xian's stunning face in her eyes. Forget about this. Qing Zhu will return shortly. Really? Yes, the wooden house sank into a peaceful silence. Feng Ruqing could feel the temperature in the room rising, and her back was covered with sweat. As Feng Ruqing was extremely close to Nan Xian, she could feel his breath on her face. State Preceptor, don't you feel hot? You can just tell me forthrightly that you want me to take off my clothes. Nan Xian fell into a moment of silence before he responded. Feng Ruqing was rendered speechless. Was she such a lascivious lady in the eyes of Nan Xian? Well, are you willing to do so? Feng Ruqing stared at Nan Xian in his eyes as if she was capable of seeing his beautiful body through his clothes. I will fulfill your dreams when you can finally defeat me. You can always look for me in the southern bamboo grove if someone bullies you. With a faint smile on his face, Nan Xian stretched his arm to stroke Feng Ruqing's head. His movement was extremely gentle and filled with affections. If someone bullies me, will you comfort me with your body? Feng Ruqing stared at Nan Xian longingly. Nan Xian's face stiffened, the smile vanished immediately. His eyes were suddenly filled with helplessness. I will protect you. Well, I don't need it. You just have to comfort me. Feng Ruqing did not need a man's protection. It was true that she liked Nan Xian. However, she only liked his handsome face, and there was nothing else. She would never put all her hopes in a man. If Nan Xian could lend her a hand, perhaps he could avenge her. Chapter 200, Married to the State Preceptor. Feng Ruqing knew that she could only count on herself. No matter how strong the other person was, it had nothing to do with her. You don't want me to protect you. Hesitating for a moment, Nan Xian furrowed his brows. Her eyes were as calm as still water. State Preceptor, are you sure you will come to my rescue in time whenever I am in trouble? If I just rely on you and never enhance my strength, when you are no longer by my side, who else is going to protect me? A faint smile hung on Feng Ruqing's lips. Startled, Nan Xian fixed his eyes on Feng Ruqing. Moreover, I have decided to sleep with you ever since I met you. As you have said that you would fulfill my dream only when I can defeat you. It is a great challenge, indeed, but it's also my motivation. If you come to my rescue whenever I am in trouble, I will never grow up. Feng Ruqing smiled as she said. State Preceptor, don't worry. I will handle these people on my own. I am just letting them live on for a while. If they bully me and you want to comfort me, you can do so with your body. As soon as Feng Ruqing finished her words, Nan Xian's hand pressed against the back of her head and slammed it into his chest, causing a stifling sensation of pain on her forehead. Is this enough? A gentle voice sounded above her head. Not enough. Feng Ruqing raised her head, her eyes were shining with delight. As soon as she finished her words, she pressed her lips against his jaw. Feng Ruqing's lips were soft and tender. Even a quick light kiss had struck Nan Xian like lightning. He could feel a stinging sensation all over his body, which gave him an intense pleasure that he had never experienced before. State Preceptor, do you look down on me? Feng Ruqing smiled even brighter. As Feng Ruqing could not restrain the urge of kissing him, she thought that Nan Xian would push her away. However, he did not stop her. Why should I look down on you? Hiding all the emotions in his eyes, Nan Xian lowered his eyes to stare at the lady in his embrace. Because I am fat, you're slightly fat, but you look gorgeous. As Nan Xian stroked her head, a glimpse of joy flashed in his cold eyes. Really? Feng Ruqing's eyes lit up. Yes, both Qin Chen and Dyer had complimented her before, but none of them was as sweet as Nan Xian's words, which sent a thrill of joy to her heart. State Preceptor, I need to visit the iron-blooded troop. I will drop by next time. All right. Soon, she disappeared into the distance. Nan Xian lowered his eyes, his slender fingers stroking his jaw. He could still feel the warmth of her kiss lingering on his jaw. In the dungeon, the pungent smell that was lingering in the air had nearly made Lu Rong, who grew up in the lap of luxury, throw up. Mother, please help me to plead with the Emperor for mercy. Feng Ruqing had sent someone here to escort me to the barracks. I have yet to marry the State Preceptor. I don't want to leave the palace. Feng Ruishuang fell down before the cell gate as she cried her heart out. It was already difficult for Feng Ruishuang to meet Nan Xian. Once she reached the barracks, it was almost impossible for her to meet him again. Chapter 201, The Ill-Fated Lady, Feng Ruishuang. There were so many impudent hussies in Luyun Kingdom. What if the State Preceptor had given his heart to another when Feng Ruishuang returned to the city? Feng Ruqing is truly vicious. She must have fallen for the State Preceptor's stunning face. As she is afraid that she is no match for me, she sends me to the barracks. Although Lu Rong cared for Feng Ruishuang, she knew that Feng Ruisheng should no longer stay in the imperial city. Otherwise, Feng Ruqing would put Feng Ruisheng into big trouble. Shuanger, I can't bear to part with you. However, since Feng Ruqing wants to send you to the barracks, if you refuse to do so, she will not let you off easily. Perhaps I would get into trouble as well. Hearing this, Feng Ruisheng's body stiffened. She raised her head to look at Lu Rong, her cheeks were covered with tears, and a profound sorrow clouded her face. Mother, are you thinking of my safety or the Lu family's? Feng Ruishuang sneered. Hearing this, the color drained out of Lu Rong's face. As Feng Ruishuang was her daughter, naturally, Lu Rong cared for her. However, there was nothing that she could do to help Feng Ruishuang. Shuanger, hang in there. I will take you home after some time. In any event, we should act in the best interest of the overall situation. If we mess with His Majesty, the Lu family will get into trouble. Do you get what I mean? Lu Rong stretched her arms and held on to Feng Ruisheng's hands through the cell gate. If Nailan Hu and Qin Feiyang had not attained Spirit Warrior tier, Feng Ruishuang would not have to suffer such an unbearable agony. Lu Rong lowered her eyes to hide her malicious gaze. Feng Ruqing, you will have to pay back several times more than the things that you did to both of us. Slightly startled, Feng Ruishuang looked at Lu Rong in bewilderment. Seeing Lu Rong's face was overcast with viciousness, bitterness crept into her face. What about the State Preceptor? Mother, I have fallen for the State Preceptor ever since I met him. He is the only person I would marry in my life. Feng Ruishuang would never forget the things that had happened the day when she was still young and naive. She had accidentally barged into the southern bamboo grove. Suddenly, a young master in a white robe with a zither in his hands came into sight. He looked enchantingly stunning as if a deity had descended from the sky. At that very moment, the State Preceptor had entirely taken hold of her heart. He had a place in her heart that no one else could have. Her life was meaningless if she could not marry the State Preceptor. Shuanger, listen to me. I met the State Preceptor the other day. Lu Rong gritted her teeth, a dull ache gnawed at her heart. Feng Ruisheng's body stiffened, a glint of astonishment shone in her eyes. I have even brought up a proposal of marriage. Lu Rong took a deep breath. What did the State Preceptor say? Feng Ruisheng's eyes flooded with tears as she asked anxiously. She had totally forgotten about her current situation. He said that you are so talented and gorgeous, he likes you too. He is thrilled to take you to be his wife. However, A light flashed across Lu Rong's eyes. For real. The state preceptor likes me. What is it about? Radiant with joy, Feng Rishuang clenched her fists hard. He told me that he hates Feng Ruching just as much as we hate her. If we could end her life for him, he would marry you. Hearing this, the joy on Feng Rushuang's face vanished without a trace. Mother, are you lying to me? With his strength, Feng Ruching is nothing but a piece of cake. If he hates her, why would he want us to do this for him? Feng Rishuang pursed her lips. Chapter 202, The Ill-Fated Lady, Feng Rishuang tu Schwanger, I am your mother. Of course, I will never cheat you. Although I am not sure about the state preceptor's true identity, I know that he is very powerful. Lu Rong tightened her grip on Feng Rushuang's hands. Had it not been for Nan Xian's almighty power, the emperor would never have treated him as a noble guest. However, he is seeking refuge in the palace as he had messed with a powerful master. In the Tsangyu mainland, people from the reclusive family could never lay his hand on the people from the secular world. Most importantly, they could never make a stir in the kingdom. Hence, the state preceptor could still be safe and sound, hiding in the palace. No one would dare to mess with him. Lu Rong did not know why Nan Xian was here in Luyun Kingdom. As he had always been hiding in the palace and did not allow anyone to enter the southern bamboo grove, she simply could not think of any reason. For real. Feng Rishuang could not believe the things she had just heard. However, as Lu Rong was her mother who loved her with all her heart, naturally, Feng Rishuang would believe in everything that Lu Rong said. Yes. I would not be able to know this if the state preceptor didn't tell me. That's the reason he could not do anything to Feng Ruching. He was afraid that Feng Tianyu would avenge Feng Ruching and he would lose his refuge. If the state preceptor fights back, his opponent would know his whereabouts. Hearing this, all the doubts in Feng Rushuang's mind had slowly faded away. But the state preceptor let his snake hurt me and throw me out of the southern bamboo grove. Feng Rishuang was still biting her lip. If the state preceptor truly likes me, why would he do that to me? Slightly startled, Lu Rong pondered for a while before sighing. It's all because of Feng Ruching. As the state preceptor barely knows you and you are Feng Ruching's sister. Since he hates Feng Ruching, he had vented his anger on you. However, the state preceptor had sent some people to check you out and has now understood that you are different from Feng Ruching. He has grown increasingly fond of you since then. That is not all, he is extremely annoyed with Feng Ruching as she keeps hounding him recently. Hence, he is seeking our assistance to end Feng Ruching's life. Lu Rong stared at Feng Rishuang earnestly. Dumbfounded, Feng Rushuang's eyes flickered with anger. Feng Ruching. It's all because of Feng Ruching. Seething with rage, Feng Rishuang balled her hands into fists as she growled with a low voice. Previously Feng Rishuang did not understand why the state preceptor had hated her so much as she had never met him before. He had even thrown her out of the southern bamboo grove. Now she realized that it was all because of Feng Ruching. Even the state preceptor was annoyed with her. Fortunately, the state preceptor was smart and had checked her out, so Feng Ruching did not tie her down. Otherwise, who should she go after if she had lost such a perfect man? Schwanger, as we can't fight Feng Ruching now, you must go to the Baroque. When your grandpa makes another breakthrough, we will be able to get rid of Feng Ruching, and you will marry the state preceptor. Feng Rishuang could feel a tremble in her heart as all the rage faded away mysteriously. She had never thought that the state preceptor would fall for her and actually wanted to marry her. Mother, I will listen to you. I won't go against Feng Ruching. I will only get back at her in the future. However, the state preceptor has upset me and had even put me in the same category as Feng Ruching. I will not marry him before he apologizes to me. Feng Rishuang lowered her head bashfully as she stamped her feet on the ground. Chapter 203. The Ill-Fated Lady. Feng Rishuang. Lu Rong's eyes were filled with a hint of uncertainty, but at the same time, she felt a great relief in her heart. Feng Rishuang must leave the imperial city. Otherwise, Feng Riching would definitely not let her off easily and might bring trouble to Lu Rong's father. As for the state preceptor, Feng Rishuang simply could not do anything by the time the whole Luyun kingdom fell into the Lu family's hands. Shuanger, when you reach the barracks, don't stir up any trouble. I am afraid that Feng Riching may. Seeing Feng Rishuang beaming with joy, Lu Rong sighed softly. A sense of guilt crept into her heart. Mother, don't worry. I understand. I will bite back all my grievances to marry the state preceptor. Feng Rishuang raised her blushing cheeks. That's great. Feeling relieved, Lu Rong got up. She continued after pondering for a while. I am still being grounded, but I have snuck out to meet you. I have to go now. If someone finds out that I have snuck out, it could create a great stir at the palace. All right, mother, please go back now. I will leave as soon as someone from the general manor comes over. Feng Rishuang was overjoyed. Lu Rong did not speak further. She glanced at Feng Rishuang before walking out the dungeon. Not long after Lu Rong left, the military officers from the general manor arrived. Originally, the military officers thought that Feng Rishuang would turn hostile and retaliate. It turned out that not only did she not fight back, but she also walked after them obediently. It was such a coincidence that when Feng Rishuang walked past the southern bamboo grove, Nan Xian too was walking out of the southern bamboo grove. Under the setting sun, there stood a young master with an aura of nobility. A green snake was weeping on his arm, pouring its grief out to him. Feng Rishuang stopped walking and stared blankly at the young master's delicate face. Perhaps Nan Xian had felt Feng Rishuang's longing gaze. He turned his head slowly and stared nonchalantly at Feng Rishuang's smitten face. Your Highness Princess Rishuang, please hurry up, the soldier said impatiently. Feng Rishuang regained her focus, glanced at Nan Xian before turning back, and walking forward resolutely. She did not look back again after that. State Preceptor, I will never upset you. I will return and marry you. Sob. Master, I am sorry. I will never leave home again. Don't chase me out of the house. Outside the southern bamboo grove, a young master stood with an azure snake that was crying uncontrollably while clinging onto the young master's body, fearful of being thrown away again. Who is she? Do I know her? Nan Xian knitted his brows together. Slightly startled, Qing Zhu looked in the same direction Nan Xian was looking. A familiar silhouette came into sight. Tilting its head, Qing Zhu contemplated for a long while and finally recalled the lattice identity. Ah! That's the lady who had snuck into the southern bamboo grove and set her sights upon you. She even laid on your bed. How could you forget her? I will never remember the person I don't care about. Then why are you asking me all of a sudden? Qing Zhu blinked in bewilderment. I don't like the way she looked at me. Nan Xian's face was growing increasingly aloof and nonchalant. State Preceptor, I heard that this lady has always been bullying Her Highness and had put her into trouble. Do you think we should take her head off to please Her Highness? Qing Zhu rolled its eyes and asked. Chapter 204. The Ill-Fated Lady. Feng Rishuang 4. By doing this, Qin Chen could never win Feng Ruking's heart. Qing Zhu was thrilled as it thought that Nan Xian would compliment it for such a great idea. As long as Nan Xian was happy with its idea, he would never throw it out of the house. A glimmer of light flashed in Nan Xian's eyes and quickly vanished without a trace. His nonchalant gaze moved to Feng Rushwang's back. Would Qing'er be happy if I killed her? Not long after, Feng Ruqing's words flashed in Nan Xian's mind, and his face darkened a few shades. Qing'er told me that she doesn't want me to avenge her. She wants to handle it on her own. However, if I am just teaching Feng Rushwang a lesson, it wouldn't be considered revenge. The corners of Nan Xian's lips curved into a faint smile. Not far away, Feng Rushwang turned her head around to glance at Nan Xian. It seemed like she was reluctant to part with Nan Xian. At this moment, Nan Xian too was staring at her silently. Simply no one knew what he had on his mind. When her eyes met his, her heart thumped violently as color rose to her cheeks. Mother is right. The state preceptor has truly fallen for me. Otherwise, he wouldn't come out of the southern bamboo grove to watch me leave with his eyes filled with melancholy. Bang! When Feng Rushwang was lost in her happy thoughts, the tree next to her fell down and pressed down on her before she could react. Struggling in pain, Feng Rushwang's body was covered in cold sweat as color drained from her face. At this time, a giant rock rolled down and smashed right on her bosom and blood spurted out from her mouth. Seeing this, the soldiers behind her flew into a great panic and stared, shocked, at Feng Rushwang, who was soaked in blood. What had actually happened? The tree had suddenly fallen down, and a giant rock had appeared out of nowhere. Do we need to heal her first? A soldier asked hesitantly. It was nothing. As a cultivator, she won't die from this. Take her straight to the barracks. We may get ourselves in trouble if there are any delays. Master Nalan and Her Highness will not be happy then, another soldier said after pondering for a while. As Feng Rushwang was badly hurt, her face contorted in pain as she spat a mouthful of blood again. Feng Ruqing. She must be the one who did this. I will not let you off easily. Standing under the setting sun, with one hand at the back, Nan Xian's sleeve fluttered in the wind. His gaze swept over Qing Zhu, who was clinging onto his arm as he said nonchalantly, "You know it very well, how to hold your tongue." "Don't worry, master, I will not tell Her Highness." Qing Zhu regained its composure and nodded hastily. Humph. Nan Xian looked away and turned to walk toward the southern bamboo grove. Just as Nan Xian stepped into the southern bamboo grove, Qing Zhu turned its head and glanced at Feng Rushwang, who was still pinned under the fallen tree. Its eyes were filled with sympathy. This lady had actually messed with the wrong person. She was no doubt seeking her own demise. No one in this could mess with the person Nan Xian cared for. Ever since the snow wolf was bullied, Feng Rushwang wanted to enhance her strength rapidly. Naturally, the iron-blooded troop was part of her strength. Hence, she had gone into the palace to visit the iron-blooded troop. However, she did not expect that she would end up lying on the state preceptor's bed when she walked past the southern bamboo grove. I truly have lost my mind seeing his beautiful face. Business before pleasure, I must not do this again. Walking in the courtyard where the iron-blooded troop was settled, Feng Rushwang reached out to her forehead as she sighed softly. Chapter 205. Enhanced Ability. In the courtyard, Tang Zi was training the iron-blooded troop under the setting sun. Tang Zi raised her head only to see Feng Ruqing, who was stepping into the courtyard. Slightly startled, Tang Zi walked toward Feng Ruqing. "Master, why are you here?" "I'm here to pay you all a visit and talk about the future of the iron-blooded troop." Originally, Feng Ruqing had brought a bottle of spirit wine for the iron-blooded troop. However, she had lost it in the southern bamboo grove. "I forgot to bring you all the spirit wine." Feng Ruqing forced a smile in embarrassment. "Master, the spirit wine you gave us last time was really something. Even though it was not powerful enough for us to make a breakthrough, our strength has been greatly enhanced," Tang Zi said with a smile on her face. "That's great. Tang Zi, Even though Lu Yun Kingdom looks peaceful on the surface, it is in actual fact chaotic both inside and outside the kingdom. The iron-blooded troop shouldn't just settle down in the palace. Tang Zi's expression grim, and the smile slowly faded away. I have thought of the things that you have said before, and I have since sent a few people out of the palace to gain some experience and training. Without a real battle, even an almighty power would slowly be depleted. No, that's not what I meant. I am saying that every one of you needs to get out of the palace. Stunned, Tang Zi stared straight into Feng Ruking's face, the face that she could not be more familiar with. Master, even though Master Nalan and Master Qin has attained Spirit Warrior tier, I am afraid that we should not just leave the palace. As you have said, the whole kingdom is chaotic both inside and outside the kingdom. As Tang Zi had promised Empress Nalan that she would protect the emperor and princess with her own life, she could never leave the palace, especially not now. Tang Zi, Lu Yun Kingdom would be just fine with my grandpa and Master Qin, guarding the kingdom. You have to get out of here and should only return if you have attained Spirit Warrior tier. Moreover, you cannot even protect yourself with your current strength. Let alone protect my father and me. Feng Ruqing furrowed her brows as she said earnestly. Your servant understands. Tang Zi sank into silence and looked up to Feng Ruqing after a while. It was true that Tang Zi would never improve, being grounded in the palace. She would definitely attain Spirit Warrior tier if she left the palace. Tang Zi, the iron-blooded troop is part of my strength. My strength grows along with the iron-blooded troop. Hence, I would get the Snow Wolf to lead you all into the forest of spirit beasts. However, you must bear this in mind. You all can only stay at the boundary and not anywhere deeper. Feng Ruqing reached out and patted Tang Zi's shoulder. Tang Zi was thrilled when she heard Feng Ruking's words. She broke into a bright smile. Her eyes flickered with joy. Master, I will not let you down. Listen. All of you, except the Snow Wolf, must not return to the city without making a breakthrough. I will get a lot of spirit wine ready for you all. It will increase the speed for a breakthrough. A lot of spirit wine. Master has a lot of spirit wine. Tang Zi was lost in wonder, but she did not ask any further. Her eyes were brimming with radiating vigor like some glittering stars. Master, don't worry. We will never let you down. Tang Zi balled her fists forcefully. Her voice resonated in the air for a long while before it faded. Chapter 206, Enhanced Ability 2. After Feng Ruqing had finished distributing all the tasks, she left the palace. Once she reached her princess manor, the Snow Wolf came running to her at lightning speed, wagging its wolf tail, and had almost crushed Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruking's face darkened and seemed a little annoyed. She kicked the Snow Wolf a few feet away without any hesitation. The Snow Wolf quickly got up and shook off the dust from its body. It cried out in a pitiful howl again and again as it felt very hurt to be treated this way. Master liked dogs. Coincidentally, the Snow Wolf had passed by a house where a dog displayed such welcoming act for its owner just now, so it picked up the trick. Why wasn't the outcome like what the Snow Wolf had expected? It did not receive the same fondness from Feng Ruqing like the dog did. This was so unfair. Since you're here, I have an important task for you. Feng Ruqing smiled as she looked at the aggrieved Snow Wolf who kept showing its begging eyes to her. The iron-blooded troop is going to the forest of spirit beasts for training tomorrow. I want you to follow them as well. This was shocking news to the Snow Wolf. It was totally dumbfounded. It had only one question in its mind. Is she going to abandon me? Really abandon me? Howl. The Snow Wolf cried out a mournful whimper and tried to throw itself at Feng Ruking's feet. It hugged her legs tightly with both its forelegs while pleading her with its eyes. It seemed to be trying to say, please don't abandon me. I will eat less and do more work. I don't want to be the abandoned little wolfie, male wolf, go away. Feng Ruqing was annoyed. Once again, she kicked the snow wolf to the side using her foot. Howl. The snow wolf attempted to cry out in a pitiful howl again. Its facial expression was filled with hurt to the point where its tears were almost flowing down. You have eaten so many of my divine spirit fruits, and you still want to laze around? Feng Ruqing's face darkened when she saw the unwillingness shown by the snow wolf. She demanded, do you still want to take revenge for the assault? What assault was she talking about? Perhaps she actually meant to say, it was robbed the last time. Although that old man failed to snatch its divine spirit fruit, he was still considered guilty for having the intention of stealing those fruits. Thus, the snow wolf nodded its head under Feng Ruqing's heated gaze. Yes, it really yearned for revenge. Since you want to take revenge, then bring them to train at the Forest of Spirit Beasts. You are more familiar with the terrain since you have been there. Never let them enter the Tier 4 Spirit Beasts territory. Feng Ruqing squinted while she instructed. She continued, one more thing. If you happen to bump into any Tier 3 Spirit Beasts. You know what to do. I still need more workers. Lure them to me. Do not let Tang Zi hit those Tier 3 Spirit Beasts to death. The snow wolf beamed with happiness. It was glad that its master never intended to abandon it but only wanted it to work harder. By the way, you must come home once every 5 days. I will give you some spirit herbs, and it's your responsibility to pass these herbs to the troop members. Do help them to safeguard the herbs as well. The Forest of Spirit Beasts is full of danger. Without the spirit herbs, I will feel worried, Feng Ruqing voiced her concern. Upon hearing about the spirit herbs, the snow wolf's mouth started watering, and its eyes shimmered with excitement. You can have some of the spirit herbs too, but not more than 3 herbs per day, Feng Ruqing warned the snow wolf with a suspicious glare. Actually, it was quite easy to help the iron-blooded troop members to succeed in their cultivation breakthrough. As long as Feng Ruqing managed to hit the level of true warrior tier, she could start to cultivate the Tier 3 spirit herbs. The spirit wine or herbal dish made of Tier 3 spirit herbs would be able to help the true warrior tier cultivators reach their breakthrough. On the contrary, before she managed to cultivate Tier 3 spirit herbs, the earth bear and the snow wolf still could not cultivate it even though they were Tier 3 spirit beasts. This was the restriction for spirit beasts to cultivate spirit herbs. Looks like I have to put more focus on my training for the next few days, Feng Ruqing mumbled to herself while gazing up at the azure blue sky. Chapter 207, The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 1 Tan Residence Courtyard. In the quiet courtyard, there was only anguished wailing. It was like a sharp needle stabbing at Lu Yuchen's heart ruthlessly. He was extremely heartbroken and devastated, looking at the closed door of the room with guilt in his eyes. Finally, he pushed the door open and slowly stepped into the room. On the bed in the room was Tan Shuang lying on her stomach. Her back was soaked with blood as it kept seeping out from the wounds. She looked like a lifeless doll, as pale as a white sheet, looking pathetic and miserable. Tan Shuang sensed someone standing at her door. Her eyelids barely moved, but she could not close her eyes. Her corners of her lips turned into a sneer. Shuanger, Lu Yuchen was heartbroken to see his beloved woman suffering. He gasped in pain. I am sorry. I am really sorry. Tan Shuang closed her eyes, her apathy was well hidden underneath. When she opened her eyes again, there was no more indifference and hatred but only grief. Yuchen, why have you only visited me now after so many days? Lu Yuchen was startled. He did not know how to explain to Tan Shuang that his father had prohibited him from coming to the Tan residence. He was worried that they would be dragged into the hot water because of the Tan family. Moreover, his father had attempted to force him to marry Feng Ruqing, that wicked and malicious woman, again. Lu Yuchen had sworn to himself that he would choose death rather than marrying that woman again. He pledged not to disappoint the woman who loved him more than her own life. Schwanger, the Lu family. Something happened at home, so it has hindered me for a while. I have come a little later to see you. Lu Yuchen walked to Tan Shuangshuang's bed and caressed her soft hair gently. He looked down to see her clothes soaked in red blood, and the sight pained him again. You have suffered a lot. Schwanger would not suffer such an injury if it was not because of him. In fact, Feng Ruqing would not treat Schwanger this way if it was not because of him too. He was the one who had caused Schwanger's suffering, so he would never disappoint her in his life ever again. I do feel wronged, but my grief does not come from enduring 200 plank punishment for you and your mother. I feel sorry for myself. Look at how far I am willing to sacrifice myself for you, but you are only visiting me today. Tan Shuangshuang mocked her own foolishness with a pathetic laugh. Her eyes were full of tears. Lu Yuchen, I love you with my whole life, but you treat me like this in return. Lu Yuchen quickly held Tan Shuangshuang's hands as the words really pained him. His handsome face turned into a frown. Schwanger, I know I am useless. I have let you suffer this pain. I promise you that I will never let other people bully you again in the future. In this lifetime, Schwanger was the only woman who had loved him with her life. Feng Ruqing kept on saying that she would only marry him, but she had humiliated him in public. Moreover, she had fallen into another guy's embrace in such a short time. He would definitely take revenge for his shame and humiliation. Tan Shuangshuang tried to sit up, but she felt the unbearable pain once she moved even just a little. She gasped in pain and lay down again. Lu Yuchen panicked. Schwanger, your injury is too severe. It is better if you don't move around too much for now. By the way, where is the physician? Why isn't any physicians here to treat your wound? Tan Shuangshuang sneered coldly and looked down at herself. Everything changed after the Tan family was in trouble. Those physicians who used to attach themselves to the Tan family had left once they had heard about it. Even though her family tried to hire a physician from outside, nobody was willing to treat her injury after they found out that she had angered the princess. However, there was no need for Lu Yuchen to know about this matter. The princess has given a command to prohibit anyone from giving me treatment. If any physician disobeys her wish, she would kill the person. I am not willing to see any innocent people die because of me, so I have asked them to leave. Chapter 208, The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 2 Boom. The last string held to his temper snapped. His anger was burning up to his head. Lu Yuchen's eyes were red with rage. He clenched his fists, and his blue veins started to pop up around his face. Feng Ruqing. Never thought that she is such a vile woman. Comparing Feng Ruqing and Schwanger, the first one was the infamous malevolent and ruthless woman, while the latter was a naive and innocent sweetheart. He could not fathom this. How could a person be so malevolent to this extent? Schwanger had never done anything bad, but Feng Ruqing kept putting her in trouble. Did she intend to force Schwanger to take her own life? Schwanger. I will never let anything happen to you. I will get someone to treat your injury later. After you have recovered, I promise to bring you to dine at Paramount. I heard they have come up with a new herbal dish recently. It can help in healing, so it must be good for your recovery. However, the herbal dish was not cheap at all. For Schwanger's sake, he was willing to spend a fortune for her. All sacrifice was worth it when it came to Schwanger. It was such a pity that Paramount's herbal dish not allowed for takeaway. Otherwise, he would not have come empty-handed today. Suddenly, it was silent in the room. After a moment of silence, Tan Shuang finally opened her mouth. Her miserable tone stabbed Lu Yuchen's heart with every word she uttered. Yuchen, how good would it be if you did not pursue me at the very beginning? Then I would never annoy the princess. Nobody is willing to treat my injury, and even my father is terminated from his service now. Tan Shuang laughed sadly to herself. Perhaps I should have been more conscious about my status. After all, she is a princess. She still has His Majesty to side her despite all her wrongdoings. Lu Yuchen was startled upon hearing those words from her. He never expected her to say something hurtful like this. What she said was true. He was indeed a burden to Shuang. If he did not pursue her before this, then Shuang would not suffer from so many misfortune and pain and even cause Grand Tutor Tan to lose his job. Everything was his fault. Lu Yuchen felt even more guilty when he thought about it. He clenched his fists tightly, but no words came out of his mouth. Since my father holds no position now, I am sure that Chancellor Lu will not allow us to be together. Tan Shuang lowered her gaze and smiled sadly. It is all right, I do not care about it anymore. Everything is my fault. I have to bear the consequences. Lu Yuchen quickly stopped her and grabbed her hands with both his hands. His eyes were red with emotion as he swore to her, "You have sacrificed so much for me. There is no other woman who loves me as dearly as you do. I will definitely marry you, and you shall be my wife." If other women were put in this situation, she would definitely hate him for choosing his mother over her. However, only Shuang would always put him over herself. She would sacrifice herself for his sake. How was it possible for him to find another perfect woman like Shuang and let her down? No matter who was against his wish, it would never stop him from marrying Shuang. Tan Shuang turned away from Lu Yuchen. She refused to look at his face. I heard that Chancellor Lu did not allow you to leave the manor. He even forced you to marry the princess. If the princess loves you, do you think I still stand a chance? Lu Yuchen frowned a little and uttered with little hesitation, "She already has the state preceptor, and she won't bother me again." Tan Shuang sneered mockingly. Yuchen, have you ever wondered why the state preceptor has fallen in love with the useless princess? She is just abusing her power as a princess to force him into this. She has only one objective, which is showing off to you. She wants to prove to you that she can still attract other guys so you will pay more attention to her. However, I don't blame her. Love makes people blind. It is normal for her to play tactics in order to get you. Tan Shuang spoke sadly while lowering her gaze. Her eyelashes trembled with tears. Chapter 209, The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 3. Lu Yuchen was left speechless. He would believe every single word said by Tan Shuang without any doubt if this situation happened in the past. However, he could not see his reflection in Feng Ruqing's eyes anymore. He was unsure whether current Feng Ruqing still loved him like those days. You don't have to worry, Shuang. Whether Feng Ruqing is still chasing after me or not, my determination will never change. Lu Yuchen's gentle, compassionate eyes looked determined. He was committed. I will go home now and tell them my decision. I will come back and ask for your hand in marriage after you have recovered. Lu Yuchen was reluctant to bid farewell as he glanced at Tan Shuang for the last time before leaving. He turned and walked toward the door. Tan Shuang's gaze was still locked on Lu Yuchen. It was filled with complicated emotions. Since Lu Yuchen had chosen Lady Lu over her, her hatred toward him was already rooted deep inside her heart. However, this was not the right time to fall out with him. Her father had been suspended from his official duty. She must find someone else to rely on. Now, she could only make use of Lu Yuchen's guilt and cling to him. 2 months flew by in the blink of an eye. A young woman was meditating quietly on the back hill. Her body was surrounded by a flowing spiritual qi. That spiritual qi transformed into a fine trace and surrounded her body before diffusing into her breathing system. It was then absorbed by her body. Suddenly, the qi energy burst into dashing particles with a loud sound and entered her body at high speed. Even Fu Qin and Qing Han, who stayed in the medium, could sense the strong spiritual qi. Their petite bodies were stiff from shock. Their eyes widened in disbelief. Brother Fu Qin, did Mother break through to true warrior tier? Qing Han stared blankly at the sky. Perhaps it was only her illusion. The sky seemed a little disturbed as a turmoil started to form in the sky. How was this possible? This medium was created by the 9th Emperor. They had brought the medium along before they left. They had even kept divine herbs sect inside the medium. Thus, under normal circumstances, this medium had changed into another world. Except for Feng Ruqing, who could enter and leave this place anytime she liked, this medium was unaffected by other energy influence. However, why was this medium affected by the spiritual qi movement, if Mother had only reached true warrior tier? Why? Fu Qin frowned, deep in thought. His cute eyes were serious. Did you realize that the spiritual qi movement is somehow familiar? Qing Han's eyes widened in shock. Last time, the 9th Emperor watered them with her own spiritual qi instead of regular water. The previous Feng Ruqing was too weak, so there was barely any changes to this medium. Both of them could not sense anything. However, Qing Han had managed to sense it this time. Her mother, who liked to take advantage of other people, had similar spiritual qi, like the 9th Emperor's one. Fu Qin bit his lips anxiously. Qing Han, maybe we are overthinking. Better not let her know about this matter. Let's pretend like nothing has happened. But, if the medium is already affected when she advanced to true warrior tier, imagine what will happen if she continues to advance. What will happen to our medium? Perhaps, they could leave this place earlier than expected. On the back hill. The meditating young woman finally opened her eyes slowly. She stood up and found that her clothes had become loose. She smiled in satisfaction. Her lips curved up. Looks like the first thing I need to do after leaving this hill is to get well-fitting clothes for myself. She had not left this place in these 2 months. In fact, all her meals and herbal dish were sent by the four-armed ape in order not to disturb her training so that she could fully concentrate on her training. Although she could not totally slim down in 2 months, it was a massive change for her compared to her old self. For instance, she could not fit in this dress anymore. Chapter 210, The Breakthrough to True Warrior Tier 4. At this moment, Feng Ruqing realized that something was going on with the sword in her hand. This was the sword she had cheated off Fu Qin previously. It looked like an ordinary sword and that there was nothing special about it. She had never used this sword because she could not even pull it out of its scabbard. However, she noticed something obvious about the sword. Previously, it was grayish and dull, but it seemed a bit shiny now. Even the dragon crafted on the sword blade looked more alive. Feng Ruqing rubbed her eyes repeatedly as she was worried that it was merely her illusion. However, she found that the sword was indeed different. It was not dull and bleak. There was a hint of greenish shine. Realizing the changes that had happened to her sword, Feng Ruqing was very excited to pull out the sword from its scabbard with full force. However, the sword was still very heavy for her. She could not remove it at all. Perhaps I am overthinking. Feng Ruqing's face darkened. She could not do anything about it. This sword can only be used as Fu Qin's food. Too bad that there is no other way to use it. Especially when it was a heavy sword. It was very inconvenient for her to carry it around. If only she could find a place to hide it. After all, even though it was not useful to her, she could still feed it to Fu Qin. So, she must keep it somewhere safe. Just as she was thinking about this, the sword suddenly emitted a bright light and disappeared from her hand. Feng Ruqing was dumbfounded. Where was her sword? Without waiting for her to ask Fu Qin, she was pulled by a sudden mysterious force. She knew that Fu Qin was calling for her, so she did not fight it. The force brought her into the medium. Once she entered the medium, Feng Ruqing saw the long sword lying quietly on the floor. Her face went dark before she lifted Fu Qin, who was standing beside her. She questioned him, "What? Fu Qin, how can you take back something that you have already given away, huh?" Fu Qin rolled his eyes and explained, "The old medium could suck in things from outside. Otherwise, Qing Han and I could not keep Divine Herbs sect in here in the first place. However, it might not work this way anymore." He then pursed his lips and continued, "So, once you take anything out from this medium, there's no way to bring it in again." Of course, Feng Ruqing was an exception herself. Feng Ruqing was puzzled as she squinted. "What happened just now? I am not sure too. I only know that this medium has somehow changed after you have managed to reach true warrior tier. Now, it can function like before, where it can store things from outside, like a giant pouch bag. In ancient China, pouch bags did exist, but there were not many of them. Even Feng Ruqing, as the princess of Lu Yun Kingdom, did not own one. If this were really virtual storage like a pouch bag, it would be much more convenient for her later on. At least, she could store many things in this medium, so she did not have to carry heavy belongings all over the place. Feng Ruqing rubbed her chin as she had an idea. This medium contains higher spiritual qi compared to the outside world. If I cultivate the spirit herbs here, will it be more productive with less effort? Fu Qin agreed and nodded. You can bring things in from outside, so it applies to the spirit herbs as well. What about the spirit beasts? She had little time to cultivate the spirit herbs. No, it doesn't work like that at the moment. Currently, this medium only manages to store living things, which do not have intelligence. Spirit beasts have intelligence, so they are unable to come here. Fu Qin shook his head while explaining the situation to her. It does not work for the time being. It also means that perhaps it could work in the future. Since this is the case, I will make use of this medium for myself. Let the spirit beasts conquer the back hill. Chapter 211, Both Tan Shuangshuang and dogs are prohibited at Qinhuai Riverside. Paramount. Paramount was indeed the first restaurant in Lu Yun Kingdom. The number of customers was high. Recently, there was the selling of herbal dish in Paramount. It was not only delicious, but it could also heal illnesses too. Therefore, Paramount had made a rule that a person could not enter Paramount if the person did not have enough money to spend. Soon, Paramount became a place only for nobles. Even so, there were a lot of customers who came to Paramount from all over the place just for the sake of the herbal dish. Tan Shuangshuang stood in front of Paramount. Her eyes were drooping. She had not recovered from her injuries yet, and she needed others' help to walk. Her face still went pale with pain whenever she took a step. Her cold sweat ran down endlessly. Yu Chen, you have snuck out of the Lu Manor today just to bring me here for the herbal dish. Isn't that a little inappropriate? Tan Shuangshuang bit her lip, her eyes were filled with worries. It seemed that Tan Shuangshuang was really worried about Lu Yuchen. Lu Yuchen hugged Tan Shuangshuang's waist with deep concern for her. Today, my father went to the palace for some business. Hence, I could sneak out. Your injuries are healing too slowly, and they can only be helped with the herbal dish. So, you don't have to overthink. I cannot stand the sight of you, enduring the pain all by yourself. Shuanger has sacrificed a lot for me. The Tan family is even burdened by me. My father did not even allow me to have a relationship with her. My mother's behavior has changed too. It is making me feel so distressed. Tan Shuangshuang is the most innocent person among all the others. I cannot leave her behind. If not, I would be no different from a villain. Yu Chen, Tan Shuangshuang smiled at last. This was her first smile after the punishment. Her smile was still very beautiful and captivating. Thank you, she smiled slightly. Thank you for staying by my side all this while. I, Tan Shuangshuang, will not leave your side too for my whole life. That smile and that voice captivated Lu Yuchen's heart like a hand. It dazed him, and he soon fell into a trance. Unknowingly, there was an image in Lu Yuchen's mind now. It was plump and large like a giant mountain. It made him smile coldly. My father had asked me to marry Feng Ruqing. That is absolutely impossible. Lu Yuchen endured the sight of Feng Ruqing's plump body before because she was obedient, and she had always listened to him. But now, he would never marry Feng Ruqing whether or not there was a place for him in Feng Ruqing's heart. No man in this world would not want to marry a beautiful lady. Lu Yuchen was a normal man. He made the decision just like any other man would. Lu Yuchen held Tan Shuangshuang's hand tightly when he thought of this. He smiled gently. Shuanger, let's go inside. I heard that the herbal dish here is very effective. It'll definitely help to heal your injuries. Tan Shuangshuang nodded slightly. She smiled softly. She allowed Lu Yuchen to lead her in. Lu Yuchen did not realize that there was a tinge of wickedness on Tan Shuangshuang's face when he looked away. Tan Shuangshuang's smile disappeared and was replaced with wickedness and evil like a serpent's. Soon, the people in Paramount came and led them in. Lu Yuchen did not reserve a place, so they were led to the lobby. They just needed the herbal dish for Tan Shuangshuang's injuries. Anywhere would be fine. Chapter 212. Both Tan Shuangshuang and dogs are prohibited too. However, Lu Yuchen's facial expression changed after he listened to the prices of the herbal dish mentioned by the waiter. Is Paramount a robber? A blood-enriching decoction costs $10,000. What about that other herbal dish? It's just some herbs and trotter. How can it cost $20,000? How can you rob others' money like this? Lu Yuchen was infuriated. The Lu family was under Lu Yuchen's father control now. Lu Yuchen could only use $50,000. Now, the two herbal dishes had almost depleted all of his money supply. The waiter rolled his eyes. Young master, why did you come here if you can't afford it? It's an order from our elder. If Tan Shuangshuang comes to Paramount, the prices we offer would be like the prices I mentioned. If you can't afford it, just get lost. Lu Yuchen nearly vomited blood from anger. The people in Paramount are rude. If Paramount is not the only restaurant offering the herbal dish, I'd definitely not waste such money. Unfortunately, some people who had tried the herbal dish before had returned and tried to brew the herbal dish by themselves. But they could not make it. It was either the herbs used were too strong, and it caused nose bleeding, or the prescription was wrong and it could not help the healing process. But Lu Yuchen did not understand. The prices of the herbal dishes are not like these. Why did they change the prices when Tan Shuangshuang came? Tan Shuangshuang's face paled when she heard about what the waiter said. She bit her lip hard, raised her head, and looked at the waiter with watery eyes. May I know why Paramount is treating me like this? The waiter smiled coldly. At first, our young master said Tan Shuangshuang and dogs are prohibited here. But our young master said that it might disgrace the dogs and we should not let go of the chance of earning money. Then, he made this rule. Tan Shuangshuang's body shook, and she nearly fell to the ground. The person who was aiming at her was not only the elder of Paramount but also the young master who never made an appearance in person in front of the people. What did I do that infuriate them, and now they want to bully me? Dogs and Tan Shuangshuang are prohibited. I was never disgraced like this. Paramount is just too arrogant. Lu Yuchen was angry when he saw how pitiful Tan Shuangshuang looked. He slapped the table and stood up. His eyes were burning with anger. My Shuangshuang is gentle and nice. Why is everybody against her? Feng Ruqing is like this. The young master of Paramount is like this too. Everybody in Paramount focused their eyes on Lu Yuchen because of his outburst. All the people who were able to come to Paramount were noble. They knew Lu Yuchen surely. They were shocked when they saw Lu Yuchen and Tan Shuangshuang. Chancellor Lu mentioned that Tan Shuangshuang would never be allowed to be married into the Lu family when Grand Tutor Tan was dismissed from his service. They never thought that Lu Yuchen would bring Tan Shuangshuang along to Paramount. He even had an argument with Paramount. Young Master Lu, you need to bring enough money if you want to bring people out for food. Are you planning to eat here for free if you don't have enough money? The waiter of Paramount spoke calmly. But, an average person would not be able to work in Paramount. How would the waiter be frightened by Lu Yuchen? Moreover, Paramount's young master would be on the waiter's side even if Lu Yuchen made a fuss. So, what was there to be afraid of? But, why was Paramount against these two people? The waiter did not know the reason. He just heard of the event vaguely. It seemed that these two people had infuriated the woman who was loved by the young master. Surely, the young master would not just forget about it. Chapter 213. Both Tan Shuangshuang and dogs are prohibited. 3. The others in Paramount heard what the waiter had said, and they could now understand the situation better. It seems that the Lu family is not stable now after what happened to the Tan family. They even think of coming to Paramount to dine for free. It really disgraces the Chancellor's family. They're so daring to come here when they could not afford even a meal. Does the Chancellor know about this? The Chancellor might break his legs if he gets to know about this incident. Lu Yuchen's facial expression twisted further after hearing their comments. He would definitely make a fuss if those people were normal citizens. But, he recognized a few faces from the crowd. He could not help but forget about what he wanted to say in retort. Yuchen, Tan Shuangshuang lowered her eyes. She appeared pitiful. It's okay. My injuries will heal. Just go home. We don't have to waste this kind of money. Lu Yuchen looked at Tan Shuangshuang. Her face was clearly pale because of the loss of too much blood. He had made a difficult situation and held Tan Shuangshuang from standing up. He gritted his teeth and said, "Just bring those 2 dishes that I ordered just now. It's just $30,000. I'll spend more if it could help Schwanger to recover." The waiter smirked. "All right. But, young Master Lu, can you please pay the bill first?" Lu Yuchen's body shook with deep fury. What does it mean? Do you think that I'll fail to pay my bills? The waiter smiled coldly. I'll trust the others. But, young Master Lu, you intended to eat for free just now. What should I do if you plan to have the meal and run away without paying your bill? I can't win in a fight against you. So, I'll just ask you to pay first. Lu Yuchen's body shook even more vigorously. He felt that he was being embarrassed. But, Lu Yuchen endured his anger without losing it in front of others because he saw the waiter's smirk and the looks given by the others. He gritted his teeth and said, "Okay. Let's pay the bill first. Surely I'll have a chance to take revenge on Paramount in the future. Now, I'll just endure it now." Lu Yuchen threw the silver coins in front of the waiter. Take it. If not, the others would misunderstand and think that he'll eat the meal for free. The waiter smiled broadly. He took the silver coins happily. Each silver coin was worth $10,000. It seems that I have misunderstood just now. Young Master Lu is really generous. You have even given Paramount a generous tip just because you want to prove that you're not the kind of person who would eat anything for free. Then, you'll take the money from my young master happily. The love you have for Tan Shuang is true love. You can spend this much for her. At first, nobody realized that Paramount raised their prices of the herbal dishes because they did not notice the commotion. Now, Lu Yuchen nearly vomited blood after he heard about what the waiter had said. It's you who raised the prices and asked for $30,000. Now, you said that I've tipped you a lot. Who would tip this much? What's more important? My father would definitely break my legs if he knows that I've spent this much money on Tan Shuang. What resentment does Paramount have against me? Lu Yuchen was very angry. He wanted to kill the waiter there and then. Why do you frame me like that? No. Paramount doesn't resent you. We sincerely wish that you and Tan Shuang will marry as soon as possible. Don't just keep Tan Shuang by your side for this long without proper status. The waiter coughed a few times. He changed his arrogant behavior and seemed very friendly now. Chapter 214. Both Tan Shuang and dogs are prohibited. For Tan Shuang's face paled. What she hated the most was being embarrassed by others without any valid reason. Although she had a romantic relationship with Lu Yuchen for many years, she had never slept with him. Why does everyone want to bully me, given that I'm just a weak woman? Yuchen, Tan Shuang bit her lip hard. There were tears in her eyes. Lu Yuchen's heart hurt. He did not care about where he was. He gritted his teeth and made a vow. Shuanger, I'll definitely marry you. I'll give you a proper status to be by my side. He would not allow anyone to gossip about her reputation anymore. There was a sudden commotion at the entrance of Paramount. Lu Yuchen could not help but frown and look toward the entrance. That moment, his eyes showed great shock and helplessness. A girl was standing at the entrance. How was one to describe her? The girl was slightly plump, and one could say she had a full figure. But, her eyes were bright, and her skin was fair. Her appearance was captivating. The only shortcoming she had was that she was plump. It was only a little. There were not a lot of people who were as fat as Feng Ruching. She would surely be a captivating beauty if this lady could be slimmer and have a more prominent feature on her face. Lu Yuchen felt that this girl looked familiar. He could not remember where he had met this girl before. Yuchen. Tan Shuang saw a flash of admiration in Lu Yuchen's eyes. She quickly tugged at his sleeve anxiously. Now, she had lost the Tan family's protection. All she had now was Lu Yuchen. She could not allow any other woman to seduce him. That lady was not as slim as her. However, her features were very prominent and beautiful. She even made her less pretty standing there next to her. Moreover, she could invoke this kind of response in Lu Yuchen, even with her plump body. What if she were as slim as Tan Shuang? Would Lu Yuchen's eyes ever fall upon her again? This was the first time Tan Shuang felt the danger of losing Lu Yuchen. Tan Shuang never had this kind of threat even when she had encountered Feng Ruching before. It was because Feng Ruching was so obese that nobody would ever fall for her with that plump body. But the woman in front of her was nothing like Feng Ruching. She could not help but be alert at that moment. Which family is that lady from? How come I have never met her before? Lu Yuchen frowned. He looked at the girl's bright eyes. There was a flash of light in Lu Yuchen's eyes. Slimming down would be very difficult for her in the past. But recently Paramount had offered a herbal dish which could help people to slim down. If she could be like Tan Shuangshuang, who was slim and had prominent features, then she would surely be more beautiful than Tan Shuangshuang. Moreover, her appearance now was quite captivating even though she was not as slim as Tan Shuangshuang. Princess. Why are you walking so fast? Wait for Luli and me. A soft voice came from behind the young girl. After a short while, the others saw two palace maids following the young lady into Paramount. Qingling was about to say something, but she suddenly stopped when she saw that all the eyes in Paramount were fixed on them. She was shocked and retreated a few steps slowly. Princess, what happened? Why were those people giving her that look? What did she do wrong? Chapter 215. The shock felt by Lu Yuchen. Lu Yuchen's head went blank after the shock. Princess. Feng-ruching. Absolutely impossible. How can this pretty young girl who has captivated others be the plump and fat princess? But the two palace maids who are standing next to the girl are indeed the palace maids who had always been beside Feng-ruching. Paramount's lobby fell into a loud silence. Lu Yuchen's legs became heavy. They were heavy like lead, and they weighed him down. His breathing became heavy too. He walked toward Feng-ruching in the silent lobby. Lu Yuchen, what are you doing? Luli frowned and stood in front of Feng-ruching. She gave a warning look to Lu Yuchen. If you dare to come near the princess, His Majesty will never forgive you. Princess. Lu Yuchen stopped walking. He laughed out loud. His laughter was like the laughter of an insane person. It was as if his laughter could somehow help to calm him down. Did you say that this girl is the princess? Everyone knows that the princess is the most obese person in Lu Yun Kingdom. This girl is just plump. It's impossible that she's the princess. I won't believe it. The princess I know is only a fat person. She would never be the beautiful girl in front of me. Luli, back off. The sudden voice subsided Luli's anger and calmed Luli down. But this voice was a heavy blow to Lu Yuchen. This clear voice is my nightmare for so many years. Feng-ruching, this beautiful girl with bright eyes is indeed the princess. Lu Yuchen could not stand straight. There was a mixture of admiration, shock, and helplessness in his eyes. He used his long fingers to hold on to a chair beside him. It seemed that he had used up all his strength on all the emotions he felt. Why? She could just be anybody. But why was it Feng-ruching? A woman whom he had treated like a nobody and had left behind. Yuchen. Tan Shuangshuang's slender figure trembled. But her steps were strong. She walked toward Lu Yuchen and held on to Lu Yuchen. Then she smiled at Feng-ruching. Princess, congratulations. You've finally slimmed down. Feng-ruching raised her eyes and looked at the two people in front of her. She had come to Paramount because of business and never thought she would bump into them there. Was it fate? Or were Lu Yuchen and Tan Shuangshuang just unlucky? It seems that Tan Shuangshuang is healing in a good way. Feng-ruching smiled. It looks like Lu Yuchen is going to marry her soon. I'll congratulate both of you here. Finally, you can be a loving couple. Feng-ruching was sincere in wishing them. Tan Shuangshuang and Lu Yuchen are a couple. They would not go and harm others after they marry each other. It's good. It's wonderful. Tan Shuangshuang paled. Feng-ruching knows what happened to the Tan family because of what she has done. Feng-ruching even knows that Chancellor Lu would never let me in. But she wanted to disgrace me just by saying this. Princess. Tan Shuang's eyes narrowed. I know that you hate me. The Tan family is burdened by me. However, Princess, please do not go on and harm the Lu family. Chancellor Lu has worked a lot to achieve what he has now. Tan Shuang's motive in saying this was to indicate to Lu Yuchen that Feng Ruqing was a wicked and evil woman. They were not sure whether Feng Ruqing would harm Chancellor Lu or not. Chapter 216. The shock felt by Lu Yuchen. Lu Yuchen did not bother about Tan Shuang. He fixed his gaze upon Feng Ruqing. If Feng Ruqing could slim down earlier, they would probably not be at this stage. But why now? Why had she appeared like this when they reached an impasse? Did she do this just to make him feel bad and regret what he had done? Yes. She had succeeded. He did regret it. At first, he should have understood. Feng Ruqing was not the same woman who would always cling on to him and make trouble wherever she went after he found out that she had changed. But Lu Yuchen was always disgusted by her plump body whenever they met. If she were like this from the beginning, he could have accepted her. It would not have been that difficult. Yuchen. Tan Shuang realized that Lu Yuchen was still staring at Feng Ruqing. She was very anxious. She bit her lip hard. There were tears in her eyes. Do you not want me anymore? Her voice was sad, and it showed deep grief. Finally, Lu Yuchen regained his senses. That's right. The person he loved the most was Shuang'er, no matter how Feng Ruqing had changed. Shuang'er had sacrificed a lot for her. How could he just abandon her? He, Lu Yuchen, would never do such a thing. Princess. Lu Yuchen smiled slightly. Are you looking for Shuang'er, I hear? Feng Ruqing looked at Lu Yuchen in confusion, her brows furrowed. Did I come here for you and Tan Shuang? Why don't I know about it? Lu Yuchen lowered his eyes. He knew what he did to her in the past was too much. It almost killed her. It was only normal if she hated him now. Princess, I know that you hate Shuang'er and me. But Shuang'er has paid for that. I just hope that you will let bygones be bygones. Feng Ruqing looked at Lu Yuchen calmly. Her voice was neither cold nor calm. Nobody could guess what she felt now. Lu Yuchen. You're wrong. I have never hated you. Not before, not now. She just hated Feng Ruqing and noble consort Rong. She loathed all the people from the Lu family. It was because of them that the original owner suffered a tragic end. Moreover, her mother's death was somehow related to them. But she had never hated Tan Shuang and Lu Yuchen. These two people originally loved each other. They had suffered a lot because of what the previous owner had done in separating the two of them. But the original owner had paid with her life. Thus, Feng Ruqing did not hate them. Similarly, they should not feel guilty. We're divorced now. They could go ahead and marry each other. Whatever happens next is none of my business anymore. I've decided that I would never be bothered about them after I come to this land. But they are still foolishly wanting to mess with me even though I have ignored them every time we met. If not, I was definitely not going to punish Tan Shuang and dismiss Grand Tutor Tan before he had a chance to go into the palace. I did not mess with anybody if they did not mess with me first. If they dare to mess with me, I'll not let them get away with it. I'm not that weak. Do you not hate me? Lu Yuchen was stunned. His voice was filled with disbelief. How come you don't hate me? You treat Shuang'er like this every time we meet. Is this not hatred? Feng Ruqing smiled. Her smile was bright and captivating. It was like the sunlight in spring. It lit up the whole world. Chapter 217, The Shock Felt by Lu Yuchen 3. Then, I'll just ask you one question. Did you ever see me calling after you out of my own initiative? You're always messing with me when I ignore you. The smile in Feng Ruking's eyes faded and it was replaced with coldness. I explained it well in the notice. It's Feng Rishuang who claimed that you're good and nice in front of me. Thus, I started to admire you. But soon I discovered that you're not meant for me. You even have your own lover. Why do I still have to cling on to you? It's you who has messed with me first. I, Feng Ruching, am not a kind person too. If you've wronged me, for sure, I'll do something in return. Why do I have to tolerate your behavior? Lu Yuchen's body froze. It sounds logical. Feng Ruching was not bothered about Lu Yuchen anymore since she woke up the other day. He thought that Feng Ruching was just playing fast and loose with him until he saw how Feng Ruching looked at the state preceptor. In fact, Lu Yuchen knew that Feng Ruching did not love him anymore since that moment. Every argument happened because Lu Yuchen had started to mess with Feng Ruching first. The incident that had happened at the Spirit Herbs shop was a good example too. His mother had told him about the whole incident after they had returned to the Lu residence. It happened because she had called after Feng Ruching first. From the beginning until the end, she had never come running after him. Lu Yuchen was having mixed feelings now. He never wanted Feng Ruching to cling on to him. But, now that he knew that he had finally gotten rid of her, he felt some bitterness in his heart. It seemed that a thing which was his and was always circling around him had disappeared now. Tan Shuangshuang looked at Lu Yuchen, who was deep in thought. She felt nervous, and she quickly grabbed Lu Yuchen's hand. But, she used too much strength, and Lu Yuchen soon recovered his senses. Lu Yuchen. Feng Ruching looked at Tan Shuangshuang before turning her gaze upon Lu Yuchen. She smiled slightly and said, I don't understand at all. I've said everything clearly. Why do you still think that I love you? Why do you think that the reason I punished Tan Shuangshuang was because of the fact that you love her? Lu Yuchen fell into deep thought again. He still thought Feng Ruching loved him because Tan Shuangshuang had always told him that Feng Ruking's hatred toward her was because of the love Feng Ruching had for him. Hence, Lu Yuchen had always felt that he had wronged Tan Shuangshuang. He felt guilty toward her, and he hated Feng Ruching even more. Now, he discovered the whole truth after he knew that Feng Ruching no longer loved him. Was Tan Shuangshuang leading him on all this while? No. Shuang'er was always naive and kind. She would not do such a thing. Princess. Tan Shuangshuang was very anxious now. She clenched her fists tightly, and there was a smile on her pale face. I see, Princess, you've let go of Yuchen long ago. I always think that you have not forgotten about him because you've done so much for him. There were even some extreme events which you have done before. Now, I know that I've misunderstood you, Princess. The underlying meaning was that Tan Shuangshuang did not simply make the assumptions. She had those assumptions because of the extreme things Feng Ruching had done before. Lu Yuchen soon felt relieved. His Shuang'er was kind and nice. She wouldn't do such a thing intentionally. It was all because of what Feng Ruching had done before and her sudden decision in giving him up. Shuang'er did not intentionally make those assumptions. Chapter 218, The Jealous Tan Shuangshuang. It seems that you're not only stupid but your sense of hearing is bad too. Feng Ruching looked at Tan Shuangshuang condescendingly. She seemed overbearing and looked sideways at her. I can't wait for you to become Lu Yuchen's wife. Why would I mess with you? Tan Shuangshuang's face became pale. Her eyes were vacant. She looked at Feng Ruching without any facial expression. Moreover, Lu Yuchen is not a good man. His appearance and features are normal. He has a bad temper. His strength is weak too. Even his intelligence is low. How bad of a taste did I have to become the lady of the Lu family before? Compared to him, the state preceptor is beautiful and handsome beyond words. His figure, it could seduce anyone. He is gentle, and he always treats others in a friendly way. His strength is unknown, but it must be very powerful. How blind was she to go and cling on to Lu Yuchen before? The people in Paramount made their comments at the sidelines. Feng Ruqing. She had also fallen for Lu Yuchen's beauty before. She had used a lot of tactics just to be married to him. Who knew that she would look down on him after she had woken up? Everyone saw how drastically Lu Yuchen's facial expression changed. His face turned from blue to white. Then, it turned from white to blue again. It was like a dye house with all the colors mixed together. But Lu Yuchen's gaze never left Feng Ruqing. It made sense. Feng Ruqing was obese before. Nobody would admire her because of her plump body before. But she had slimmed down and changed a lot now. Furthermore, Lu Yuchen had always loved beautiful people. The concubines Lu Yuchen had in the Lu family could never compare to Feng Ruqing. Of course, he was regretting. Besides, you did not even greet and bow to me when you see me. As a son of a minister, where are your manners? Feng Ruqing was overbearing. It made Lu Yuchen's body freeze. He was still in a deep shock. He had forgotten about manners. Now that Feng Ruqing had reminded him, he could not help but bow down to her. Yuchen greets the princess. Qingling looked at the princess. Princess, you've allowed him to talk for so long standing there in front of you. Now, you mention his manners. Isn't it too late? Feng Ruqing could not be blamed for her ignorance. She came from Huaxia. She did not put emphasis on manners too much. If not, her two palace maids would not be that rude in the princess manner. But, one must teach him some manners given that Lu Yuchen is this kind of person. Feng Ruqing raised her eyes and looked at Tan Shuangshuang. She soon found no desire to talk to Tan Shuangshuang. She used both of her hands to press against Tan Shuangshuang's back heavily. One never knew whether she was intentional or unintentional. Her hands made contact with Tan Shuangshuang's injuries, and Tan Shuangshuang screamed in pain. Then, Tan Shuangshuang kneeled down on the ground under Feng Ruqing's force. Tan Shuangshuang lowered her eyes, and there was resentment and unwillingness in her eyes. Feng Ruqing could act wantonly because of his majesty. If Feng Ruqing was not the princess. If I'm in Feng Ruqing's position, I'll definitely do much better than her. I could even make the whole world belong to Lu Yun Kingdom. Feng Ruqing is still a villain, although her appearance has changed. She's just a good-for-nothing person who knows nothing. Qingling, Lu Li, if there's anyone who accuses me of clinging on to Lu Yuchen again in the future, just let the snow wolf bite them. Qingling was stunned for a while. But, didn't you send the snow wolf out? Feng Ruqing thought for a while. That seemed to be true. It had not returned and it had been 10 days now. Then just let Big Bear go and beat them up. I won't allow anyone to tamper with my reputation. Chapter 219, The Jealous Tan Shuangshuang 2. What if the state preceptor still thought that she was still in love with Lu Yuchen and refused to marry her? Then who will be responsible for compensating her for such a handsome state preceptor? What a pity. Qingling, Lu Li, feel free to order anything that you like in Paramount. I'll foot the bill. Feng Ruqing waved her hand and said generously. She was too lazy to pay attention to the two people who were kneeling. After all, she owned all the herbal dishes as Paramount would pay half of the profit to her. No matter how much she ordered, half of the gain would go in her pocket eventually. Luli had no comment on Feng Rooking's generosity. As for the previous 2 months, she was the one who had been dealing with the elders in Paramount. She took every prescription that the princess had given her to Paramount. So she knew well that Paramount and the princess had a very close relationship. Many thanks to your highness in rewarding us with herbal dishes, Lu Li said respectfully. As Tan Shuangshuang looked up, she heard Feng Rooking's bold and generous voice. She suddenly sneered. The herbal dishes in Paramount were extremely expensive. No matter how rich was Feng Rooking, she could not spend her money in such a way. She dared to say so simply because she did not know the price of the herbal dishes. Besides, Paramount was so disgusted with her even if she did nothing. With Paramount's quality of not fearing the power, this vicious woman Feng Rooking would likely be kicked out. Tan Shuangshuang recalled what she had experienced just now as she looked at Feng Rooking walking toward the waiter. There was a hint of spite in her hateful eyes. Any box room here? Feng Rooking was in the front of the waiter. The waiter frowned. Before he wanted to say that the box should be booked in advance, and then, he accidentally caught a glimpse of the jade pendant hanging from Feng Rooking's waist. His eyes popped wide open. That jade pendant. Doesn't that belong to the young master? How could it be in Prince's hand? That means, the princess is the one whom the young master treasures. The waiter felt a chill down his spine. He felt lucky for not saying anything just now, or else, he would have been banished from Paramount. All the boxes have been fully booked but, if your highness wishes so, I'll contact someone and deal with it to get your highness a room. Oh, Feng Rooking nodded slightly and said, what's the price for the herbal dishes in Paramount? She had just gotten out of her silent meditation retreat. Luli had not informed her of any of the market information. But seeing the crowds in Paramount, it could be assumed that the herbal dishes were famous enough. Cheap, it costs only 1 cent. The waiter smiled ingratiatingly. What a joke. Even though this Lu Yun Kingdom princess' reputation was quite notorious, she was the one that the young master cherished. How would the waiter dare to make her pay? Feng Rooking was stunned as she turned around and looked at the waiter in confusion. The waiter swallowed hard as he lifted one finger, weakly, no matter how much your highness ordered, 1 cent will do. Feng Rooking's face turned dark. She gave Jiuming, that kid, all the herbal dishes, and he had only sold it for 1 cent. How could she earn from it? The waiter looked at the silent Feng Rooking's pitch-black eyes as she was contemplating something. He almost cried because it was frightening. It's free. If your highness dining here, then it's free. Please let me go, your highness. How can I take your highness money? Let's hope the princess would not tell and complain to the young master, or else he would be dead, free. Feng Rooking looked up and asked solemnly, you guys who work in Paramount, do you want to make money or are you doing charity? Chapter 220, The Woman Who Came After the State Preceptor. The waiter was slightly confused. He figured out why Feng Rooking was angry after hearing what had Feng Rooking said. He quickly put up an ingratiating smile. Your highness is our honored guest in Paramount, so it's natural to make an exception for your highness. Only your highness has the privilege to enjoy this, no one else can. Feng Rooking's face began to look better. Feng Rooking, am not a person who can't pay. I'll pay for what it is cost. Do not make an exception for me. The money that was paid would go into her pocket anyway. Oh, yes. Jiuming had also promised her that in the future, no matter if it were Spirit Herb's shop or Spirit Beast Court, she would be given half of the income from the shop's businesses. She would not be bearing any loss after doing the calculation over and over again. The waiter nodded and bowed. If your highness is so generous, then I would charge you as it is. Unlike some people, who just freeload without paying anything, who is also not ashamed to hook up with girls with such standard. The freeloader, Lu Yuchen, said nothing. Qing Ling, Lu Li, let's go. Feng Ruqing did not look at Lu Yuchen and Tan Shuangshuang. It was as if those two people had nothing to do with her. Or it was more like, they could not get her attention. Lu Yuchen stared at Feng Ruqing as she was leaving. A hint of complex feelings surged inside his heart. Perhaps from the first day they met, he had never thought that one day she would become so excellent. Tan Shuangshuang's face was tight. She clenched her fists tightly and even breathed heavily in pain. She had always thought that Paramount had a distinct identity where it feared no power. But she could not imagine that this Paramount was not that noble nor special. Just because Feng Ruqing was the princess, Paramount had given her special service. If she could be Feng Tianyu's daughter, would Paramount dare to treat her in such a way? All of these happened because of birthright. The unfairness in her birth had caused her to always be suppressed. The woman that Zhuang Luan mentioned before. She's the princess of Luyun Kingdom. Her name is Feng Ruqing or something else. In the streets of Luyun Kingdom, a tiny and unkempt loli was looking around. She pursed her lips tightly, and her gemstone-like eyes looked resentful. Humph. I would like to see which girl had seduced Brother Nan Xian. Last time when Zhuang Luan returned, she told her that Brother Nan Xian was captivated by a coquette from Luyun Kingdom. She wanted to see how the coquette looked like. How could she lose to that coquette, and why would Brother Nan Xian be attracted by her? A little girl was standing behind the loli. She was a tiny jolthead, unkempt as well, and looked like a beggar. But, lady, why should we dress like that when you want to find young Master Nan Xian and the coquette? These clothes look very ugly. The loli glared at her. Are you stupid? They don't let me out. If I don't disguise myself, what should I do if I get caught? The little servant said nothing. Little Lattice's words were so true as she had no words to reply. Qian Ning. Something flickered in the Lola's eyes. Tell me, if I found that coquette, then I can meet Brother Nan Xian, right? Qian Ning felt that her words made perfect sense. Yup, young Master Nan Xian never wished to see little lady one, and little lady doesn't know how young Master Nan Xian looks like as well. If we really want to find him, we can only find him through that coquette. Chapter 221, The Woman Who Came After the State Preceptor. To the Lola's smile froze. Those words hurt. She felt as if her heart was stabbed and was dripping with fresh blood. Little lady, Qian Ning rubbed the back of her head in confusion. Did I say anything wrong? All I said was the truth, wasn't it? The Lola's heart ached. Please, enough. Would you shut up? She grunted and turned her head, arrogantly. Let's go, and find out how to get to the Princess Manor. What was the big deal if Nan Xian refused to see her? What was the big deal if she had never met Nan Xian? She only knew that all the people were praising Brother Nan Xian. He had a good temper, good personality, he was strong and good-looking as well, the one who excelled in anything. Especially the fact that he had a good temper, which simply struck a chord in her heart. Also, people had said that she would be the one to marry Brother Nan Xian in the future. That was why she wanted to take a look at the girl who had attracted Brother Nan Xian. To know how she looked. To protect her love, she immediately grabbed a passerby and asked, Hey, do you know how to get to the Princess Manor? Feng Ruqing was satiated as she walked out from Paramount, and got dragged by a little unkempt thing abruptly. She was stunned at first but slightly smiled as she heard what the little thing was asking. I know the way. Lolita was delighted. Really? Could you please bring me there? Feng Ruching examined this little thing for a good while and chuckled. Okay. She walked in front as Lu Li and Qing Ling followed next to her. As the loli wanted to catch up, the jeweled head next to her, Qian Ning, stopped her in a hurry. Little lady, this person has simply promised you. Could she be a bad person? Bad person. Lolita looked at Qian Ning in confusion. Qian Ning nodded seriously. I heard them saying that secular people are evil. They will catch us and sell us to the brothel, or even send us to the bad old men and make us their concubines. The more cruel thing is, they will cheat us of our snacks and forbid us to eat. Feng Ruching, the person who was walking in the front and was possibly going to cheat them of their snacks, said nothing. That little girl was 5 feet tall. Although her face was covered in dirt, it was evident that she was underage judging from her height. How much could she earn from selling an underage person? Lolita remained silent. But she really wanted to see that coquette. Don't worry Qian Ning, our snacks are stored inside the storage bag. She can't get it. Feng Ruching stomped her feet and kept on moving without looking back. She knew from her memories that such a storage bag was extremely rare in Xiangyu mainland. Luyun Kingdom had only one of the storage bags before. Father gave it to the imperial mother, but it eventually vanished with all the treasures inside. Since then, Luyun Kingdom had never gotten a storage bag anymore. This little young girl possessed the storage bag, which meant that she was not of a simple status. Such a cool little girl. What was her intention to look for Feng Ruching in Luyun Kingdom? After a while, Feng Ruching had reached the front of the princess manor. Qian Ning, the loli scurried up excitedly. She didn't lie to us. She has really brought us to the princess manor. When I see Feng Ruching, do you think I should show her my power and prestige, or should I take out all the treasures from the storage bag and show off? Will she feel inferior? Will she shrink back? Chapter 222, The Woman Who Came After the State Preceptor. 3 Qian Ning nodded earnestly. Little lady, I heard that even the great 3 herbs are rare in the secular world. You can show her any of the spirit herbs and make her feel ashamed. Oh, by the way, little lady, try not to mention the word secular world when you are talking, or else the people who live in the secular world will know our identities. Feng Ruching, who lived in the secular world, stayed silent. It was sorry to say, but she knew it all. Besides, it was they who kept mentioning the words secular world, didn't they? Why are you still here? Qing Ning turned as she saw Feng Ruching, who was standing at the door of the princess manor. She frowned and said, You may leave now. Feng Ruching ignored those 2 lunatics. She winked at Qing Ling and said, Open the door. Yes. Qing Ling looked at that 2 loonies hesitantly as she turned and took out a key. Then, the door of the princess manor opened. Opened. The loli was stunned for a while. When she came to her senses, she turned and looked at Feng Ruching. Are you from the princess manor? Yes. Feng Ruching was half smirking. Feng Ruching. The loli and Qian Ning were speechless. What did they do just now? They discussed and talked about how to psych her out, or to show off in front of Feng Ruching herself. The lola's eyes were blank. Feng Ruching's words struck her heart like a fist. She was so ashamed that she wished she could hide inside a hole. Oh dear, what had she and Qian Ning said? Those petty and ill words were nothing to speak in their absence. How could they be so unlucky that Feng Ruching had heard it? This was so embarrassing for 2 of them. She blushed, but luckily her face was covered in dirt, so people could not notice it. To hide her panic, the loli stared at Feng Ruching angrily. You're Feng Ruching. Why didn't you say earlier? Feng Ruching threw up her hands, innocently. You only asked how to get to the Princess Manor, but you didn't ask me who I am. The little loli was getting angry. After thinking for a moment, she realized that it was true. So, she swallowed her anger and snorted. She was surveying Feng Ruching with those sharp eyes. Strength, lower true warrior tier. That was too weak. Her face was bright but not gaudy and consisted of a feeling of transcendence, which was considered okay. Bah! What okay? She was here to deal with her, not to examine her. Shape, a bit plump but not obese. Does Brother Nan Xian like the plump kind? Breasts, the loli looked at Feng Ruching's firm breasts and then back at her skinny body. She blushed out of anger and clapped one hand to her bosom. She just hadn't developed completely. She was just a bit late, and there was still room for her to improve. She would definitely surpass her in the future. Feng Ruching looked at the loli who was tightly pressing her own chest in wonder. The loli too stared at her in rage. The way the loli looked at her, it was as if she was a rogue. Your Highness. Qing Ling noticed the loli too, and she recalled what Feng Ruching had done to them before. She asked weakly, could it be that, you have teased this child before, so now the child is trying to get back at you? Feng Ruching turned pale. Even if she liked beauties, she would not go after a child, right? Or would she? This was definitely a false charge. The loli felt something was not right as she wanted to retort Qing Ling at the beginning. As she caught her last sentence, her large eyes turned red and flashed with anger. Chapter 223, The Woman Who Came After the State Preceptor. For who are you referring to as a child? I'm already 15. I grow slower and I am a bit shorter, but am not a child. Feng Ruching was such a wicked woman, accusing her as being a child so she could own Brother Nan Xian. Humph. She would not let her get away with it. Princess, can it be true that you had really teased her? Qing Ling was going to cry. The princess did not only give her love to her and Luli, but she also had another girl on the side. And that girl was coming back for the princess. She wanted the princess to be accountable to her. Shut up. Feng Ruching suddenly shouted and stopped Qing Ling from crying. Go ahead and tell me, why have you come to me? She squinted and smilingly surveyed this loli. If you are good looking, I might accept you into my manor. The lola's eyes widened. What did she mean? Accept her. Suddenly, the loli rolled her eyes as she lifted her chin, arrogantly. I have decided to move into your princess manor. She had heard a lot of rumors about this woman from the beginning. Fat, ugly, vicious, tyrannical, and also divorced by her husband, she seemed a bit plump but not to the extent of obesity. Fat was not quite accurate. But ugly, vicious, tyrannical, and the other rumors were enough to prove that how notorious this woman was. But how could Brother Nan Xian like her? Why? She had to stay until she could find out how she could attract Brother Nan Xian. It seems like you have nothing to say. Luli, throw them out. Feng Ruching dropped the words without looking back as she wanted to enter the princess manor. The loli panicked. She quickly rushed into front of Feng Ruching and stopped her. Being 5 feet tall was a huge difference to Feng Ruching's 5 feet 7. It hurt her even more. I'm beautiful, I'm really beautiful. I just wanted to escape from my family, so I disguised myself. The dirt on my face, I covered myself with it, really. I can wipe it away, I'm really good looking. Feng Ruching raised her eyebrows and said, get out of my way. No, you have to keep me. I'll live here tonight. Feng Ruching was too lazy to pay attention to her. She walked past the loli. The lowly grabbed Feng Rooking's thigh. Feng Ruching felt something heavy on her leg. She could not remove her leg from the girl's grip after trying several times. Her face darkened completely. Growl. Growl. The earth bear just came down from the back of the mountain. It noticed a little filthy thing hanging on Feng Rooking's leg. It growled twice and rushed toward Feng Ruching. Master's thigh belonged to them. Who was that little thing? How dare it try to take away their thigh one? Feng Ruching frowned deeper. The little thing was too strong as she could not free her leg after a few attempts. She did not care more, and just as she wanted to walk and drag the lowly along, a big bear suddenly ran over and jumped onto Feng Ruching. Usually, it would not have been a problem for Feng Ruching to evade that pounce. However, her leg was being dragged by a little thing, which apparently prevented her from escaping. She could only watch the bear rush forward and grasp onto her leg. Feng Ruching could even hear the sound of cracking bones in her broken leg. Beery. Beery stared blankly at Feng Ruching as it could feel her anger. It loosened two of its bare paws and stood aside, trembling. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.